Welcome everybody. In today's fascia release class, we are going to be working on the legs and we're going to start with the hamstrings. I will be working with a black ball. This ball is a little bit bigger than a tennis ball. It's a Yamuna ball. I love these balls. And I may shift into a slightly larger ball that is more global in effect. So I piled up a bunch of them next to me so I can transition if I feel one is better, it will serve me better. Please feel that you can mix and match and explore the type of ball that works for you. The benefit of putting pressure into the muscle and elongating it is the ultimate. Sometimes very hard balls can create a certain amount of overpressure into texture of a tissue. It's very, very personal. And sometimes if the ball is too soft, you're not getting enough penetration to feel the benefits. Please do trust your body, trust your experience, and play around till you're happy with what you are experiencing, because you are the therapist and you're senior to a technique always. To start, we will start on the right side. And let's take this ball and place it right on the sit bone. So if you roll to the side, you want to feel around and find this little bone. That is the base of the pelvis, and then sit up and see if you can kind of just settle into this bone a little bit and feel the pressure into it. So as much as you can, you want a nice lifted spine. The body is not relaxed, but it is tonified, so there's a certain vibrancy within you. Can you find the exact peak of the bone, the very topmost point where you're going into it? And take a big breath in, lift up out of the bone, and then exhale and sink into it a little bit, and just feel that the ball starting to massage that area, because lots of attachments come into there. Breathe in and breathe out, sinking in. Now from here, you'll roll your bottom a little bit forward. Notice how it's pushing my glute upwards. You want to press the tissue up. We're starting to traction all of the muscles that connect in there. And then come up and move backwards. And now we're in the tendon where the hamstring connects into the sit bone. If you're flexible, bend forward a little bit. You can even lengthen the heel out a bit to create an elongation. The pressure into the muscle is creating the length, and it's providing a stretching experience without actually stretching. Coming up and going back, and then coming up and going forward. So do this a few more times in your own speed. Each of us has our own unique experience. Sometimes it takes us a minute or two to start to relax into the pressure of the ball. I personally like a ball that's not too hard and dense, because I feel it spreads the tissue better without being too harsh. It's a very, very personal choice, the density of the ball, and at different times I have enjoyed different qualities. I'll add one more thing right here. As best you can, imagine the sit bone moving back. If you do yoga, this is where we're told pull your glutes back, but not, what we're really looking for is that lengthening out of the hamstring. Then come back, and now we roll. Let me turn this way. I'm rolling a little bit to the side. So we're doing a cross and leaning into it on this side. A lot of pressure. Coming up and now rolling towards the midline. If you're vertical enough, you're just kind of moving toward your pelvic floor, and you're pushing the sit bone out a little bit. So back and forth, take your time. It's like a seesaw. And I sometimes feel as though I'm pushing the massiness of the muscle away from the bone and molding it. It's kind of like you're dealing with clay. You're just molding it and making space and stretching things out a little bit. Now just roll around. So I have started going counterclockwise. around the bone. If you have pockets that are very tight, very stiff, those are the areas that you want to take more time with. It's not going to unwind in one lesson or one time on the ball, but it's a visit into where the tension is accumulated and it's more stuck. This feels so nice. It's starting to warm up, starting to get a little blood flow in the area. Now pop yourself back up on the ball. Feel again how much length you can get. If you're one of those people that tuck your bottom a lot, can you stick your bottom out? This is a great place to start to make space between the legs and the spine. It's almost like if you had a tail, you want the tail to be going outwards. Now from here, roll back to the tendon. So here I am. I'm right in front of the sit bone. And let me get my foot in the camera view. And I'm just going to sit into this a little bit. And if you're flexible, can you lengthen a little bit further forward to stretch out that area? And then roll a little bit further back. Now, because the ball is small, I've actually dropped my other side down. And I'm going to now hike it up a bit. So I'm sitting right on the ridge. We're running down the central line. It's called rectus femoris, that big, massive part of the hamstring. We're running down and settling into it, really deepening the pressure in. So take your time, pressure in, and now drag yourself further back. So I'm probably halfway down my hamstring now. And I want you to stay there because my dog's barking and he's noisy. So I'm going to put him outside. But you stay on that point and let yourself enjoy sinking in. Okay, Wally. You are interrupting a lesson. You're not supposed to interrupt a lesson. Out you go. All right. Now we can focus. So once you're here, another way you can hike yourself into this position is with your knee bent. It's very personal. If you are one of those people, your hamstrings are very tight, it's hard for you to be at this 90-degree angle. You can even be here. And notice that I'm lifting and lowering my knee to create more traction. And now I'm pressing into the ball and rolling down 3/4 of the way, so I'm quite close to the knee. And by this time, for most of you, you will have your bottom on the floor, and this is where we get to do a fanning movement. Just rolling across a little bit, but the emphasis is right in that central line, that central hamstring. And keep pressing down, and now roll all the way to the knee. This is a lovely, lovely spot. Our knees get so much tension, so much tightness. Roll side to side. And now we're going to have fun and roll back up. Just, it's like ironing out that muscle. Just a nice pressure. You're pushing the lymph, I would suspect. A little bit rolling up, rolling up, rolling up. Notice I'm getting to my bottom. I'm rolling over and rolling all the way up towards the waist, just as a final exit. Oh, that was awesome. And now we go to the other side. So ball under the sit bone. Make sure you find that nice tip of the bone as best you can. If it's really, really hard for you to sit upright, you can actually be close to a wall, so you can be leaning into the wall, or you can do this in a chair, because very often the leg, if you're sitting in a chair, everybody can do this. Some people don't have the same flexibility when they start out. So just massage over it through the bone a bit, just feel it. Start to get used to it. Let's take a deep breath in. Lengthening the whole back, the whole spine, stretching everything up, and then as you breathe out, you sink the bone down. You let the tissue in your whole body settle. And again, breathing in, lengthening your back. Let's get the whole spine involved. Let's stretch everything up and then breathe out. Then from here, rolling a little bit back. Remember, lifting your buttock up, pushing your glute. Your glute should be being pushed up away from the bone. And then rolling through the bone into the tendon. It's like you're going downhill. You're going over the bone and into the front of the hamstring. One leg can be quite a different experience from the other. I'm going to do this again. And back. So we have very different qualities in different parts of our body. And actually visiting them, honoring them, is a really interesting experience because all of this physical formula, and it's a very physical experience, does have connotations and associations into our personality and how we interpret life and interpret the world. That's a big reflection for all of us. I say that because I can see correlations very much. People who have a lot of trouble in the legs, in the hips, they often feel ungrounded, less stable. They may be going through more of an insecure time in their life. So there are harmonics to all of this that are just interesting to reflect on. Now coming back to the tip, and we'll go side to side. So I'm going to the outside, rather dense tissue here, the glute medius, and then rolling towards the midline, towards your pelvic floor area. Pushing and widening the bone out, pressing out, and in. And one more time out. Widening. Remember, like you're pushing into clay. You don't want to do this fast. You want to have kind of this slow, determined journey. And now rolling around the ball, the bone, the ball is rolling around the bone. And you will be doing both directions. So whichever direction you're going, observe, because you can really feel pockets of areas that may be stringy, tighter, looser, achy, painful. It's just like lots and lots of different muscles are attaching into this bone from your upper body and then from your lower body. And there's different qualities to them and maybe different imbalances. Let's move the other way. And then come back to the top. So again, sit up, get a sense. Can you get your sacrum to lift now? Notice that the pelvis, for most people, will rock forward a little bit. We tend to kind of be falling backwards in our pelvises. And now we roll and we start the journey down the leg. So roll into the tendons. So you are in front of your sit bone. The leg is in front of you. It's nice and long. Position yourself in a way that works in your body and just kind of see if you can start to relax into this area. Let it start to accept the pressure and dissipate a bit. Keep the pressure in and roll. Whoa, this one's tight. A little bit further down. Now you're in the meat of the muscle. There is an area that's a real big, like a big bulge of muscle mass. That's the dense part of that central hamstring line going down. If you're not sure where you're supposed to be, just going down the back of your leg is good enough. Really, really trust it. It is sometimes takes a while for tissue to separate. Just putting pressure on the back, it's fine. Just relax, because I know some of you get very nervous. Am I in the right place? Am I doing it the right way? You're doing the best, and your body will open and respond to you as you go deeper into this work. And rolling a bit further down, I'm halfway down my hamstring now. I am actually on this side. It feels really good for me to go on and off. I'm keeping a constant pressure into the muscle, but I'm easing it longer. This leg in my body tends to tighten up a lot more. I've had a lot of injuries, and I've had a good workout this morning, so this is a real nice time to kind of even out and normalize everything. Moving a little bit further down, now doing the fan work, spreading the muscle a little bit. So there's a lot of different muscles running down from the pelvic area up into your knee. And they can get all glued together and tight, and they tend to tighten up. You know, our knee is more narrow than the top of our thigh, so there's a narrowing down of energy and forces. Everything's getting a little bit tighter, a little bit harder, a little bit stronger to hold the joint of the knee. Obviously, this is it's a crossroads of traffic and movement, so it has a vulnerability and a functionality. So we want it strong, we want it hydrated, we want all those muscles and tendons and ligaments able to stabilize and hold the knee and receive a lot of force. Now I am right, I'm going to move on, it's right under the knee, and again back and forth. My favorite place to just massage. We tend to accumulate a lot of tension in the back of the knee. Again, because it's this crossroads of different energetics, bending and straightening, walking, joints accumulate forces, and the forces can get stuck there. So we are just coming in and spring cleaning the back of our knee with this work. And now, slowly push through, straight up, ironing out the back of the leg. Coming all the way onto your sit bone, and then rolling through, go all the way up towards your waist. Just have fun ironing out and putting pressure through the body, getting all the way to the bone and coming off. Oh, absolutely lovely. Now, going down that hamstring again, but we're going to do the outside. We went, if I was to say, here are my sit bones, the goal was to go down right through the center. So it's this central, biggest mass of muscle that we were doing some release work into and lubricating and lengthening. Now from here, what we're going to do is go right into the middle of our glutes, a little bit more out, and run outside that line. So if you have the big central line, we're running outside. Not exactly on your IT band, but more out into the outside of the knee and the top of the calf. This is a band of muscle, again, that supports the knee, supports the leg, and is part of the hamstrings. Remember, hamstrings is more than one string, and it will sometimes get more sticky and connect into the IT band and just become tight, so we don't want that. So, right side, I am in the middle of my glute muscle, just kind of sinking in there for a minute, taking a moment to feel that, in fact, if you want to just roll around a little bit and feel the tension. We have a lot of tightness that accumulates in our buttocks, and then they stop being so functional. So we want them perky, strong, powerful, and relaxed at the same time, but with good tone. So here you are, you found the pressure. Now roll down. So you're just on the outside. Remember when we roll to the outside of the hamstring, of the sit bone? Now we're right there again. You can be on your side if you like. Or you can be up, or you can be over, whatever it takes to get that pressure into there. My leg is slightly turned out because it helps me get more into the position. Now I'm going to start to roll into my thigh. So the ball is right here. I'm going to come down a bit. So, into that side. So I'm almost on my side and I'm dragging the tissue forward with the pressure that I'm putting into this. Taking a moment, creating length. If you can, get a sense of being long in the body, rolling down a little bit more. Taking a moment, lengthening and pointing the foot to feel the shaft of muscle being stimulated, rolling halfway down. Whoa, now I'm getting into some serious tightness. Again, I'm going to move my foot, rolling a little bit further. You may be a little bit here. I'm getting a lot of heat, whatever works for you. Again, working my foot. And I'm going to stay in camera. You keep going. We're rolling 3/4 of the way down. You can even have your bottom down or up. Up will have more pressure, but you need more strength in your hip and in your upper body. So whatever works. Again, moving through the foot and rolling a little bit further and then through to the calf and off. Ah, that felt so good. And starting out, here we go. Side in your glute muscle on the side, kind of right in the middle there. Just sink into it and move around a little bit just to settle into the sensation that's available to you. If it's really painful or talking to you, take more time. You could pause the camera right here or the play button, or later just come into it and spend more time releasing some muscles that are starting to be really tight. Now let's get into the side of that sit bone again. So if you notice, obviously the difference is before I was sitting and leaning sideways. Now I'm keeping my body more long and now pulling into the side of the hamstring. So not the central line, but the sideline. I've moved down off my buttock, I'm in the leg, coming further, and now here I'm going to go. Pointing and flexing, sinking into the muscle so you can kind of feel if you're gripping, there's a tonality. The more you get your butt long, the muscle fibers tighten a little bit. And we want them. We don't want them flaccid, but we want them, like the string of a violin or the string of a guitar or piano string when you're tuning it. You're not like, it's not it needs tone and then it needs elasticity. So it's kind of like you're asking your body to do that. Have this nice long, especially because we're working the foot. We're not just floppy ragdolly. We're toning, we're activating the shaft, and then we're asking it to have an ebb and flow. Moving further down, again, flex and point a bit. Oh, this is feeling very good. And now, through the side of the knee and into the beginnings of the calf. So nice. And just for a minute, let's lie on our backs and feel what we just did. Lie down. Let the legs relax. and experience this dissipation. Notice if your hips feel different. How do your legs feel? In fact, if you flex and point, you feel more spaciousness in the bones instead of as much grippiness. Or are you more where you gripping and you want to roll it out? It can happen both ways. Now, let's come back up and we're going to work on the famous quads. So we're going to be rolling down the central line of the front of the legs to the knees and actually over the knees into the top of the shin bones. Our quads get really, really, really tight. We sit a lot, they pull in, they hike in, so it is a story and a half, and they need some loving attention to relax a bit so that the body can shift back into the back body, so because it often is turned off. Let me see here. I'm choosing to work with a slightly larger ball. You can still use your black ball, absolutely, any ball you've got. I like a larger ball because it's going to have a more global effect. And today, this ball is quite soft. And I'm just because I've been doing a lot of work, my muscles are a bit tender and raw, and I don't want hard pressure. I want a little bit more of a loving, expansive sense of dissipation. Again, this is your call. There's no one ball that is the ball to use, and at different times, different balls work better. So, starting out on the hip bones, on the right hip bone, I'm tractioning it a little bit to the side. It's like I'm sinking into the ball, but now my intention is very slightly to make it wider. So instead of energetically closing, I'm opening, but I'm pressing. So I'm allowing the bone to get used to the pressure and then lifting and lowering the knee just to create length. And when I lift the leg, I'm lengthening the heel away. So the sensation is that the leg muscles are getting very long. And rolling into this little groin area. The opposite leg can be bent up. You can do any shape that works for you. We're all different. We have different tightnesses, different areas of pressure. So here we go again. Watch if you can. It's very easy to release your low back. Notice it now. I'm arching and dropping down. So can you have a semblance of length, kind of like the way you would be if you were standing straight? So I am supporting my abs. I am keeping the pelvis long, and then I'm just feeling into this area to create a lengthening of the leg versus a gripping into the socket. Rolling forward, now I'm coming into the top of my hamstring, right in the middle, and attempting to let my thigh start to release into this leg, into the ball. And again, I'm just flexing and pointing the foot a bit, not necessary. Right now my leg is in the air, which means it is having some tone. And my glute and my hamstring are working a little bit, and I'm trying to get as much length as I can. Just for fun, I'm letting my hip drop down and coming back up. One more time, dropping down. It just rolls my quad a little bit out and back. And rolling to the middle of my quad. If this is really hard for you to hold your weight up, you can always grip a second ball and put it under your belly, or you can have a pillow or a bunch of books. And if it's really hard and you just don't have anything, it's okay to drop down. I know you've now let go of your back, but that's an option. Because the most important part is this pressure, and now very slightly bend and straighten the leg. And notice how there is a reaction in the quad And you want to imagine that muscle getting longer. This movement, the muscle actually gets longer, and we usually shorten it and pull the leg forward. So we're looking to lengthen there. Roll down until you get right to the top of the knee, above the knee, and again, you can adjust your leg. This is where you will see your unique patterns if you tend to turn in or turn out. See if you can keep the concept of your kneecap going straight down. You want to even out these muscles to have a better bone alignment. Taking my time here. This just feels too good to miss out on it. Oh, yes. And now roll all the way onto the kneecap. For this, the ball must be relatively soft. You cannot roll onto a hard surface. I should have pre-qualified that. And now into the shin bone. Oh, and come on. Let's sit on our heels for a minute, because you probably feel a difference between the right and left side. I really should have mentioned this ahead of time. Rolling over the kneecap should be with a softer surface. And if you have a hard ball, just don't do it and listen to your body. Doesn't matter which routine. Listen to your body. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. And the other side. So starting out, now I'm on my left hip bone. Just letting my body sink in a little bit. Receive the pressure. Keeping my abs supporting my low back. I have my other knee bent up to be a stabilizer. This feels amazing. And as I mentioned, this ball is quite soft. It just feels very loving on my body today. And I felt like I needed a little love. We all have those days. Rolling a little bit forward into the groin. This is another area. Now we're in the hip flexor, groin area, where we get very grippy, very tight, very short. Can you feel into relaxing and lengthening, letting that tissue traction open? Let the hip bone move open and release. And then I've got my toes hooked into the floor, so I'm going to flex, and I'm lengthening the heel away to create a slight elongation in the hip flexors. So instead of pulling into the body, I'm looking to lengthen out of the body, like the branches of a tree wanting to grow outwards. Rolling further up onto the big top mass of the quad. This has got a lot of intensity on my left leg. Take your time, just feel into your own body. Feel if you can sustain the length, sustain the low back. Oh, this feels so amazingly good. Opening the tissue up. Wow. I'm going to stay here for a minute because this seems unbelievably good in my body. And please, please, as you do this work, trust the information coming at you from you. Nobody knows better than you what you are experiencing. And very often we are always looking outside for answers. Let's say the information outside can help enhance and expand your spectrum, but always hold yourself senior. You are the one driving your body. You are the one living in your body. You are the one who knows more than anybody else about your body. It is a direct experience. So really, really keep that in mind. Let's roll halfway down. Again, letting the muscle soften and lengthen. Keeping the hip bones even to the floor if you're able to do that. And again, don't forget, you can always pillow or a ball under your belly or your hips or your chest if it helps. And if you just can't hold yourself up and you have to drop down, that's fine too. And then roll further up. So the ball is going down in the direction of the knee. I'm in my lower part of the leg now, lowest thigh, I should say. And again, bending in. Whew. This is wonderful for me. And out. And now rolling onto the ball, onto the kneecap, I apologize. Onto your knee, through the knee, giving it some love, into the shin bone, and coming off. And let's sit on our heels and see what it feels like. Because we created a lot of length in the front and in the back of the hamstrings. Really, really nice. While we're sitting here, I just can't resist. Let's get that sacrum really lifted because the glutes should be slightly more open, more spaciousness. Let's clasp our hands, and as we've lengthened the legs, just squeeze the shoulder blades together and give the chest a bit of a stretch. Just feels too good to miss out on. I can feel the whole front of my chest wanting to open and expand and elongate. So here we are. Yes, that felt terrific. Now let's get into the calves. So back to the black ball or a smaller ball and place it, actually I always start with my right side, place it really into the corner of your knee and get a sense of your foot going straight back. So you don't want the foot here or all sorts of different shapes if you can. And what I am doing now is I'm looking at my hip in relation to my foot, and I'm attempting to sit back with the idea that my sit bone would go over my heel. And I'm sinking in, and very often I need to hold the ball in place because it wants to pop all over the place. It wants to roll in, roll out, roll to the other side, and I want that pressure going right through the middle of the calf. So allowing everything to settle and lengthen. Nice and long. And now from here, I'm going to push the ball so I've rolled it out. I'm sitting into it, but I'm dragging the tissue outward. So it's like you've got clay and you're stretching it over the bone. And now roll the ball to the inside. Oh, yes, it just stretched out and released a little bit more. Fabulous. Come back to the middle. Again, sink in right in the center. Meatiest, fattiest, I don't mean fat, but I mean densest part of the muscle tissue where most of the tension accumulates. And now I'm going to roll the ball down a bit. Check my center line and sit back in. So it's very common that we start to fall off and the legs are going in all sorts of funny directions. And maybe if that's the best you can do right now, go for it. It's all good. But we all have zigzags and muscles that one side of the muscle is more developed and another side is underdeveloped. We have patterns that come from repetitive living and from where the pressure and the force has been put on our bodies, and other parts that really are underdeveloped, you could say. So, and it's basically latent potential. The undeveloped areas are latent potential of other possibilities. So having a geometry as a vision and working towards the vision of the geometry helps access the potential within yourself. So you're waking up a whole place that you never even knew existed, and it was a missing card. So you have more possibility now. Now we roll to the inside. So now I'm pushing the ball on the inside. It's dragging all of the calf and some of my hamstring in. Back to the center. Now roll the ball down so it's at the top of the Achilles tendon. Again, even tendons have elasticity. People go, oh, I have a tight Achilles tendon. I need to stretch my Achilles tendon. So you're doing that now. And the Achilles tendon is connected into the calf and into the heel. And those forces right on either side are very key to mobilize that tendon and give it that elasticity and flexibility that it needs. So you're enhancing a lot more than just that one area. Very often people have an idea of what the issue is, but there's, again, so much more. The heel can be jammed in one point or the other. So when you loosen up the heel, the Achilles tendon relaxes. Here we go. We're going further down on the Achilles tendon, sitting into it. Just putting pressure is so therapeutic. And now, curling the toes under. This is going to be tricky. So again, here's the Achilles tendon. Here's my heel. So I've kind of got it there, and I'm trying to create almost a hammock into where the Achilles tendon is. And its attachment to the heel. I can feel the attachment right now, getting a little bit of stimulation. And coming off. And as we work the calf, we will do the other side in a minute, but it's always fun to lengthen the legs out and move the feet a little bit. Feel the knee, the hamstring, the quads, and the foot, and the calf. Just feel, really feel in. Feel to what, can you get more of a relationship of one body part to the other? Do you feel more juice, more tightness? Like, what do you feel? Not from a place of judgment, but from a place of connecting, really taking a moment to check in. What is going on? Usually, most of us don't pay attention to anything in our bodies until we have pain, and then it's a problem. But we have an ongoing relationship, and it's such a wonderful thing to embrace the physical part of who you are like an animal would do. We are now moving to the other side. So the ball is in the corner, sinking in, allowing the tension to sink. This side more tight for me. You will have your own experience. Check again that the hip, this is going in a straight line, and from the knee to the foot in a straight line. When I teach a live class, I have a look and people are all over the place. Oh, now it's beginning to give. It feels so good when that starts. The whole kneecap starts to open and traction, so there's more space for the kneecap. Now, pushing the ball to the outside. Oh, so good. Oh, I've also been traveling a lot. I've been on a plane, haven't had much sleep, so the body accumulates its share of backflash, It's all residual energies that the body is holding off of life. So it's nice to roll it out. Roll the ball to the inside. Oh, yeah. Whoops, my ball slipped out a bit. Let me make sure it's grabbing the calf and bringing it to the inside. So the ball is like pushing the calf into the middle of my body. And it's pulling my hamstring a little bit over, and I can feel how it's making space around here. Oh, yes, something else just released. Back, moving the ball down a bit so it's more towards the bottom of the calf, middle of my shin bone. Letting that area start to release a bit. And pushing the ball to the outside. Letting everything just flow. Start to move and expand. Sometimes I have cats and I love feeling their skin and the muscles because everything is so relaxed and so not glued to the bone. And then when they see a mouse or they see something they want to do. Now I've moved the ball to the inside. They want to jump or something catches it. Everything goes into high alert and is available as a resource right away to like a spring. That's really where we want to be. We want to be extremely relaxed and loose and open in our bodies and our limbs, the bones kind of floating in the soft tissue. And then when we are, the intention and the vision of the body is to do something, it just throws the energy in and it works without resistance or without any kind of brakes being put on. It's just all available and we don't waste power with block tension. Move down to the top of your Achilles and sit in there. Letting everything lengthen. Roll a little bit to the outside. Always come out. And it's like grabbing that Achilles and moving it. And moving the ball to the inside. And it's interesting with pressure. Pressure really stimulates the lymph flow. It's squeezing. We all like a good hug. This is a version of hugging yourself. I love to see horses near where I live because they're always coming up to a fence with me and they're rubbing a little bit. It just feels good. On a very primal level, pressure feels good. And it is a form of keeping us malleable, keeping and moving. It actually part of what moves the lymph. So go think. You think you like a hug? You're moving your lymph and the other person's lymph when you're hugging them. And move down to the bottom of the Achilles. So this is a form of that. It's a sophisticated form. It's following certain anatomy lines. But it is a form of just having some nice pressure with your body and a nice relationship. It's so therapeutic and so personal, really. Now, on your heel, and I think I did this on the other side. One more time, trying to get right up close. I made the Achilles long. This position, the Achilles is long, and the ball is very slightly pushing the bone away. You can actually grab the ball, kind of pushing the ball that way, so the bone is getting a little bit of traction. Now I'm right in the right spot. And just stimulating that high part. If you want to add a little bit of more, think of where your bones are and what length can be had, because when the sacrum is being lifted upwards, there's more space. The glutes being asked to get less grippy, more spacious. And then come off. Oh, that was so nice. And again, move the feet a bit. Feel the connection. Feel your glutes. your hamstrings, your calves, your quads, all the way to the ankle. How do the legs feel? Let's have an easy forward bend. Should have a little bit more space. Very, very nice. And let's just do a down dog to stretch all of this out actively in a shaping. So please come onto your hands and knees. Get the knees about hip width apart and the toes are under. And if you notice, I'm very slightly creating a corner. So I'm not in this shape. This is a shape where the hamstring is short and the pelvis is being pulled under. So we're hinging the sit bones open. And before we go up, I'd like you to pull the shoulders away from the ears. So I'm pulling my armpits, I'm activating my lat and creating a bit of an extension in my upper back. So I'm asking that upper back. That's a whole other area to roll out. We're not doing it today, but it's usually really tight. And then can you go up and keep the lats and the upper back long, and then slowly work into the back of the legs. The heels are moving down and the sit bones are moving up. And take your time, don't rush to straighten the knees. You'll miss all of the length in the hamstring and in the calf that you can access if you set it up right and move into it more consciously. Usually we just jam the knees straight and everything goes short around it. So take your time and then walk it out a little bit, tractioning those muscles, opening things up, lengthening a little bit further out. Oh, so good. Head is between the arm bones. So the ears are between the arm bones. Can you feel the length through the neck too? And bend your knees back down. And bring yourself back to a comfortable seated position. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this class. This is, and if you enjoyed it, you may be interested in an 8-week course that I deliver where we go in depth through the whole body and cover a lot of different routines to unwind all literally most of your body. I mean, there's always more, but it's a whole journey because each week we cover a different layer. This is something you'd like more information on, go on my website, neadragabriel.com, or email me, neadragabriel@gmail.com, and I will be happy to send you more information on it. We'll start in January. And in the meantime, just enjoy rolling. Thank you very much.